Have you ever wished you could just, download a new skill directly into your brain? Well, we're not quite there yet, but honestly, the science of learning has come a long way. So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful science-backed framework to help you learn pretty much anything faster and, let's be real, way more effectively.
This quote from neuroscientist Dr. Leela Landowski, it just hits home, doesn't it? Seriously, think back to school. We were always told what to study, but were we ever actually taught how to learn? It's this shared frustration that honestly holds so many of us back.
And the results of those old, outdated methods? They're kind of shocking. Get this, studies show that most of us forget a staggering 95% of what we learned within just 1 month. All that time, all that effort, just gone. But here's the good news. It absolutely does not have to be that way. Okay, so before we get into the how, we have to tear down a huge misconception that just paralyzes people before they even start. You've probably heard it a million times, the 10,000-hour rule. Right, so the message here got completely twisted over the years. That 10,000-hour thing, it was based on studies of absolute elite, world-class performers. We're talking the top 0.1%. But for the rest of us just trying to pick up a new skill, research from author Josh Kaufman shows a much, much more encouraging reality. It only takes about 20 hours of focused practice to go from knowing absolutely nothing to being surprisingly good.
And how is this even possible? Well, it's all thanks to this incredible built-in feature of our brains called neuroplasticity. This isn't some self-help magic, it's pure biology. Every time you learn something new, you're physically forging new connections between your neurons. Your brain is literally built to change and adapt. So the big question is, how do we actually tap into that incredible biology? Well, it all comes down to a simple 3-part toolkit that honestly anyone can use.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to prime the brain. Basically, get it warmed up and ready for optimal learning. Second, we'll walk through the active learning loop, because learning is something you do, not something that just happens to you. And finally, we'll cover the secret to making all that new knowledge actually stick around.
All right, let's dive into that first pillar. Preparing your mind and your body. Think about it. You wouldn't just jump up and run a marathon without warming up, right? The exact same principle applies to a focused learning session.
So, what does this actually look like? First, schedule your learning time. Put in your calendar like it's a super important meeting you just can't miss. Second, create a bubble of total focus. The most effective learners tend to study alone to cut out social distractions. This also means getting rid of the #1 enemy of deep learning, multitasking. Seriously, put the phone away and focus on one thing. And finally, you want a real brain boost? A little pro tip, just 20 minutes of moderate exercise beforehand can improve your attention for up to 2 hours.
Okay, so priming your brain is just the starting line. Now we have to actually engage with the material, but in a fundamentally different way. Because, and this is key, true learning is an active process.
This quote from a memory grandmaster, it really captures a critical shift in thinking. We spend so much time on input. Reading the book, watching the lecture. But real mastery comes from output. It's what you do with the information that really, truly counts.
And here's a dead simple formula for that. Of course, you start by learning the material. That's the input. But then you have to pause and reflect. What are the key ideas here? How could I actually use this? Next, you implement it. You take action no matter how small. A lousy action is 1,000 times better than no action at all. And finally, you share what you've learned. The best way to learn something is to try to teach it. A really powerful way to apply that share step is something called the Feynman technique. Basically, try to explain the concept you're learning to a kid, using super simple language. The moments where you get stuck or confused, those are the exact spots where your own understanding is weak. It's a fantastic little trick for finding your own knowledge gaps.
Yes. This is the question that stops so many of us in our tracks. We start practicing, we stumble, we feel kind of stupid, and then we just give up. That fear of making mistakes is a huge, huge emotional barrier to learning.
But here's where the neuroscience just completely reframes this fear. You know that feeling of anxiety you get when you mess up? That's actually your brain releasing chemicals that jack up your focus. It's a biological signal that's basically screaming, pay attention, something important is happening here. So mistakes literally pry open a window for your brain to change and get better.
So, you've actively learned the material, you've embraced your mistakes. Now, how do you prevent that 95% from just vanishing into thin air? This is where we consolidate everything we've learned, moving it from that fragile, short-term memory into robust, long-term memory.
First up, sleep is absolutely non-negotiable.
It's literally when your brain replays and hardwires the day's learning. Cramming all night? It's the worst thing you can do. Second, use spaced repetition. Reviewing stuff over several days is way more effective than cramming it all at once. Third, and this is a cool one, take short 10-20-minute breaks right after you learn something. And during that break, no new input, no phone, no email. In that quiet downtime, your brain is subconsciously replaying the info at super high speed. And finally, turn it into a game. Quizzing yourself is a win-win. Get it right, you get a little dopamine reward. Get it wrong, and you open up that awesome neuroplasticity window we just talked about.
So, let's bring this all together now. Forget 10,000 hours. The real question, the one that matters, is what can you achieve in your first 20 hours of focused, effective practice?
Here's your cheat sheet. Just remember, 20 hours is all it takes to get surprisingly good. Focus on what you produce, not just what you consume. View mistakes as your brain's secret weapon for getting better. Create that distraction-free bubble for yourself, and then use sleep and strategic breaks to lock in everything you've learned.
And ultimately, this quote really gets to the heart of the challenge. It's not about being a genius or having some special talent. It's about overcoming that initial emotional hurdle, that fear of feeling stupid when you're just starting out. By pre-committing to just 20 hours, you give yourself permission to push through that uncomfortable phase and discover what you're really capable of.
So that leaves us with one final, powerful question. What will it be? An instrument? A new language? A piece of software for work? The tools are right here, the path is clear, and it's so much more achievable than you've been led to believe. The only thing left to do is decide.